All right, gather round because we're about to talk about something legendary. I'm talking about logistics. Now, I know what you're thinking. Logistics, isn't that just a fancy word for moving boxes? But seriously, logistics is so much more than just shuffling packages from point A to point B. It's the intricate dance, the master plan, the behind-the-scenes magic that makes our entire world go round. Without it, your favourite pizza wouldn't arrive. Your online shopping sprees would be a distant dream. Logistics is all about planning, implementing and controlling the flow and storage of goods and information. Imagine you're planning the most epic bachelor party ever. You need to get the groom, the guests, the supplies and the entertainment all to the right place at the right time. That, my friends, is logistics on a smaller but no less crucial scale. This unsung hero has been around since, well, pretty much forever. Whenever people needed to move things, whether it was food for their tribe, stones for a pyramid, or troops for a battle, they were engaging in logistics. They might not have called it logistics, and they certainly didn't have GPS or overnight shipping, but the core principles were there. They had to figure out the how, the when, and the where of getting stuff from here to there. It's the invisible backbone of civilization, so buckle up, it's going to be an awesome ride. Let's rewind the clock. Way back before smartphones, before airplanes, even before really comfortable shoes. We're talking ancient times. Think about the Egyptians building those massive pyramids. It wasn't magic, though it might seem like it. It was logistics, baby. They planned routes, organized labor, and managed supplies. Ancient armies like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar were logistical masterminds. Ensuring a constant supply of food, water, and weapons was crucial. Trade relied on effective logistical systems. Riverboats and pack animals were essential. Even without advanced technology, planning and organization were key. Now, let's talk about one of the most iconic logistical networks in history, the Silk Road. This wasn't a single road, mind you, more like a sprawling web of interconnected trade routes that stretched for thousands of miles. It linked the East and West, from China all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, and sometimes even further. For centuries, it was the main artery for commerce, culture, and ideas flowing between vastly different civilizations. And what was the star of this show? Silk, of course, this luxurious fabric, a closely guarded secret of the Chinese for a long time, was worth its weight in gold in places like Rome. But the Silk Road was about so much more than just silk. Imagine caravans laden with spices, tea, porcelain, precious stones, and paper moving westward. And heading east, you'd find goods like gold, silver, glassware, wine, and carpets. The logistics involved were mind-boggling for the time. We're talking long, arduous journeys across deserts like the Gobi, over towering mountain ranges like the Pamirs, and through lands often plagued by bandits. The success of the Silk Road depended heavily on a series of oases and trading posts that dotted the routes. The Silk Road stands as a testament to human resilience and the power of trade to connect distant corners of the world, all underpinned by a surprisingly complex, albeit ancient, logistical system. All right, let's fast forward a bit and talk about some real masters of infrastructure, the Romans. These guys didn't just conquer vast territories, they knew how to manage them. And a huge part of that management was, you guessed it, top-notch logistics. The Roman Empire at its peak was a sprawling behemoth, and keeping it all connected and supplied was no small feat. Their solution? Roads. Lots and lots of incredibly well-built roads. We're talking over 50,000 miles of paved highways stretching from Britain to Syria. These Roman roads were the backbone of their military and commercial logistics. They allowed legions to move quickly to quell rebellions or defend frontiers. They enabled swift communication through the state-run postal and transportation service, which used relay stations with fresh horses to speed messages across the empire. For commerce, these roads meant that goods like wine, olive oil, grain and pottery could be transported more reliably and efficiently than ever before. But the Romans didn't stop at roads. They were also brilliant hydraulic engineers. Think aqueducts. These incredible structures brought fresh water to cities, supporting large urban populations and industries. Furthermore, the Romans developed sophisticated port facilities like Ostia Antiqua, the port of Rome. They truly set a high bar for getting things done efficiently on a grand scale. Section 5 Art, Setting Sail, when oceans became the new superhighways. As land-based empires like Rome eventually faded, A new frontier for logistics began to open up in a big way, the high seas. Sure, ancient civilizations had used boats for trade and transport along coasts and rivers, but the age of sail, particularly from the 15th century onwards, saw maritime logistics truly come into its own. This era was all about exploration, discovery, and the establishment of global trade routes that dwarfed even the Silk Road in scale and ambition. Ships became the primary vehicles for moving vast quantities of goods, people, and ideas across the world's oceans, connecting continents in ways previously unimaginable. The development of new ship designs like the caravel and later the galleon was crucial. These vessels were more maneuverable, had greater cargo capacity, and could better withstand the rigors of ocean travel. The oceans had truly become the superhighways of global commerce, fundamentally reshaping the world economy and setting the stage for even greater logistical transformations to come. Section 6. The industrial boom: steam, steel, and a whole lot of speed. Hold on to your top hats, folks, because the 19th century brought a revolution that would supercharge logistics like never before: the Industrial Revolution. This period was all about new power sources, new materials, and new ways of making things. And at the heart of it all was steam. The invention and refinement of the steam engine by pioneers like James Watt didn't just power factories. It revolutionized transportation. The most iconic symbol of this change, the choo-choo train. Railways began to crisscross continents, connecting inland areas to coastal ports and industrial centers to raw material sources. Trains could carry heavier loads, travel faster, and operate more reliably than horse-drawn wagons or canal boats. At sea, steam power also made its mark. Steamships began to replace sailing vessels on key routes. The development of iron and later steel hulls made ships larger, stronger, and capable of carrying more cargo. Canals, like the Suez Canal, opened in 1869, and later the Panama Canal, opened in 1914, dramatically shortened key global shipping routes, further boosting the efficiency of maritime logistics. Beyond transportation, the Industrial Revolution also brought about mass production in factories. This meant a huge increase in the volume of goods needing to be moved. The world was becoming more interconnected, and the pace of commerce was accelerating rapidly. Section 7 of the 20th century, shuffle. Bigger, faster, further. The 20th century? Oh, it was a doozy for logistics. If the Industrial Revolution lit the fuse, the 20th century was the explosion of innovation in how we move things. We're talking about taking all those 19th century breakthroughs, railways, steamships, and cranking them up to 11, plus adding a whole new dimension: air travel. The Wright brothers' first flight in 1903 might have seemed like a novelty at first, but it didn't take long for visionaries to see the potential for transporting mail, and eventually high-value, time-sensitive cargo by air. But the real game-changer at sea was something surprisingly simple in concept: the shipping container. Malcolm McLean, a trucking entrepreneur, had this brilliant idea in the 1950s. Instead of loading and unloading cargo piece by piece, why not pack it all into big standardized metal boxes? This, my friends, was containerization. It revolutionized maritime shipping, drastically reducing port turnaround times, labor costs, and damage to goods. The impact of containerization cannot be overstated. It made global trade cheaper and more accessible than ever before. By the end of the 20th century, we had a sophisticated, multi-layered logistics network: planes for speed, ships for volume, trains for long-haul bulk, and trucks for flexible final delivery. Section 8, the Digital Revolution. Logistics gets a high-tech makeover. And then bam, the computers arrived, and the internet, and suddenly logistics, which had always been about physical movement, got a massive digital brain. The late 20th and early 21st centuries have been all about the information revolution, and it has transformed logistics from a primarily brawn-based operation to one that heavily relies on brains and bytes. One of the biggest game changers has been the development of sophisticated logistics software. We're talking warehouse management systems, WMS, that optimize storage and retrieval of goods, transportation management systems, TMS, that plan the most efficient routes and modes of transport, and enterprise resource planning, ERP systems that integrate all aspects of a business, including logistics, into a single platform. Add to that technologies like barcodes, RFID, radio frequency identification tags, and GPS tracking, and suddenly you have unprecedented visibility and control over your entire supply chain. Automation is another huge trend. Warehouses are increasingly being populated by robots that can pick, pack, and sort goods with incredible speed and accuracy. The rise of e-commerce has also put immense pressure on logistics systems, particularly for what's called last-mile delivery. Getting the package from the local distribution center to your doorstep, the digital tools are crucial for managing this complexity and building resilience. Section 9, Conclusion, Logistics, the unsung hero of our modern world. From ancient Egyptians hauling stones to Roman roads connecting an empire, to Silk Road caravans braving deserts, to majestic sailing ships conquering oceans, to steam trains thundering across continents, to today's automated global supply chains. Logistics is the invisible engine of our modern lives, ensuring goods are available when and where we need them. It's a story of constant evolution driven by human ingenuity. Logistics, the often overlooked hero, will remain a cornerstone of human progress, and that, my friends, is truly legendary.